Today is going to be an amazing Transformers Tuesday with two big reveals for us today. A lot of these distributor and stock images have been surfacing in the past couple of days. Most of these distributors have been sent these images early by Hasbro to prepare for pre-orders and stuff like that will be hitting in the near future. And well, today's a big one, because it makes a lot of those more modern Transformer fans that were behind a lot of these franchises very, very happy. After getting a lot of Generation 1 stuff, Legacy is now showing us some Beast Wars love and some Transformers Armada love. Today we're going to talk about our Voyagers. We knew about these guys for more than a year now from all the listings that have leaked out there, but we wanted to see those images. First up, let's talk about Transformers Legacy Voyager class Beast Wars Predacon Inferno. Now, this is a big one. This is a very important one because Beast Wars Inferno was a big part of the Beast Wars franchise. He was a very popular character. But the flip side of that is he didn't have a lot of toy representation. He was someone that he had a really good original toy, but that original toy, as time progressed, started to have a lot of, I guess we could call it, longevity issues. A lot of translucent plastic, a lot of cracking areas. And I have, again, people who know I run my parts parties and I've done multiple conventions in the buying and selling Transformer world. I've come across tons of mega class, as they were called back in the day, Beast Wars Inferno's 1997, and so many of them are broken in the arm regions because of that translucent plastic and how they were stored. He was a very fragile toy. So to get a proper representation of that original character was very difficult. And it was a good toy, but it wasn't perfect either in terms of the animation model. It was definitely a lot better than those first season characters that were, the toys were made first and the animation models were made afterwards, and Inferno was lucky to be one of those characters that kind of had the chicken before the egg and everything like that. But regardless of the fact, this one here today does even better. It is an effort to make it look like the animation model, using that Voyager price point and the budget to do as much as they can to really do an incredible job. He has his pinwheels, spinner butt, jetpack, which is maintained and kept there. He has his proper flamethrower weapon that now is, something that looks like you could plug in a whole bunch of blast effects and get that flamethrower kind of look going on if need be. I'm pretty sure maybe the Siege Jetfire would probably be the best one to kind of mine those to get that kind of look. But it looks great. My goodness, like the opening and closing mouthpiece, both for the amp mode and for the robot mode head, so he could be expressive with his evil laugh and stuff, or his grin. Like, I love how much this looks. Now, granted, there's a little bit of a bias coming from me because I am a absolutely huge Beast Wars fan, and I still firmly believe to this day, as someone who grew up on Generation 1, I still firmly believe that Beast Wars is the best written Transformer series of all time. And this is just, my goodness, this looks so good. And it just makes me even more happy considering the fact that this will replace most people's Beast Wars Infernos in their collection, considering how bad that original one is today. Back in the day, it was a strong, solid toy, but today, time has not been good to it in its plastic durability. So this is absolutely great. And it just looks great, too. If I have one complaint, it's like, well, the original toy, his blaster was his mandible, and that was a separate, now it's kind of a separate accessory that you kind of just have to plug in on top of the head of the ant or whatever. So you couldn't be 100% accurate to how it looked in the show when it comes to weapon storage and accessories. But aside from that, I think he looks great. I really think he looks great, and he does a fantastic job of that. I mean, there's not much more I could really say. Again, Voyager price point, so he's also going to be big. So he's going to tower over those characters like a Black Arachnia and a Tarantulas, his fellow Predacons that were much smaller, that are also recent Kingdom and Legacy toys. So this is going to be, if you're a Beast Wars fan, I swear, man, the past 2 years have been just absolutely stellar for you guys. It really has been. And I am hyped. I am hyped. This is fantastic. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Next up, for the Armada fans, for the Aaron Archer fans, for everything of that, we have yet again another Voyager class Armada Starscream. Now, I say yet again because the last time we had a modern interpretation of this classic design from 2001, 2002 was the Generations line. The Generations line during Thrilling 30 with, collaboration with IDW made a Armada Starscream toy in a deluxe class. And if you look at this one and that deluxe class one, you would not be wrong to feel that there's a lot of similarities. Some people even initially thought it was the same toy repackaged. But it clearly is two different toys. They're two different price points. The veneering and slight differences that you could see here are clearly present. But there is a lot of the same problems. And I don't want to harp too much on this, but there is some issues. But I think it's more so just the limitations of current budget today when it comes to paint. The original Generations Deluxe Class Starscream suffered from, having a little differences in the limitations of a deluxe class back then during the Thrilling 30 era of 2014, 2013. And, excuse me, it was 2014. Excuse me. I'm trying to get the exact date right on that in the back of my head here. Everything comes off the top of my head when I'm yapping here. But it looked really good for what they could do at a deluxe class, but there was the limitations of how they could do the sword, and there just wasn't the paint budget there. When they took that deluxe Starscream and they brought it to the Transformers Legends line in Japan, they were able to have more paint budget, and it looked better, but it's still not the best. It still maintained its, I guess we'll call it null ray cannon gimmick, as he was called in the show. Had his sword storage for the weapon, but it was kind of stored on the back, and that was it. It was, again, for a deluxe price point within those limitations, it was fine. Now we have this as a Voyager, kind of bringing him back to that larger price point, because the original Armada toy was, I believe they called it an Ultra Class. Oh, it wasn't called an Ultra Class. They had those weird Supercon, Ultracon points or whatever, but, it was one of the larger figures. And what I like about this one, I'll talk about the positives first, is that, you have a good way that they store the sword again, so he has an extra sword. He comes with a facsimile pre-assembled extra sword of the Star Saber from Armada, aka the Minicon sword of Runway, Jetstorm, and Sonar. So, if you're a fan of any of Runway, Jetstorm, or Sonar, here they are all smashed together, molded together in a facsimile kind of Star Saber blade. So that's pretty cool too, because look, supposedly we're going to be getting some other Armada characters at some point. This is an extra accessory that you could put with other characters. The Star Saber is a legendary weapon, both in Transformers lore and just even within Armada. So that's pretty cool to get that extra accessory. That alone makes it interesting for anyone who might be on the fence of picking up this Starscream. He comes with the Star Saber, so you got to get it through that. Now, the packaging and the back of the box shows that his extra sword, the red sword that we have in the stock image, shows it in white there. With the stock image, it shows it in red. I don't know what the actual color is going to be, but I'm kind of curious how it's going to store properly on him and if it'll mesh well with it, because when you see it in the jet mode there, it looks like it's just kind of attached as a accessory. But is it something that could be probably be put on the back of the wing and stored properly? Because it does have a peg for it. So we'll see how that kind of looks with the colors and everything. It does look like he's going to still have his null ray cannons. I swear it looks like they're spring-loaded, but they're probably not. It's just probably the molding and the veneering to make it look like it's a classic character. So it has that at least. I like how they sculpted the wings and stuff. It's more true to the original design, where even the deluxe from Thrilling 30 kind of had a different interpretation, because they were going to share that design with the IDW Comics G1 Starscream. So there was the confusion with that. But the one negative I have is, and it suffered from the same problem that the original deluxe had, is when, I like the pursuit of animation accuracy from a design standpoint. And I find that while the design itself is pretty accurate, I'm not a fan of just how much red it is. And that was the same problem that the deluxe had, because again, paint budget. And they kind of fixed that with the Legends one because the Japanese have a much larger paint budget. But this Voyager one, too, it's a lot of red. And it's a lot of red that could have been broken up if they just could have had a few white and black accents on that chest area. Specifically, like, let's say over those boob vents, if you will, the chest vents. That would have really broken it up because it's still very red. But that's really it, I could say. Otherwise, I think he looks fantastic. I mean, obviously, at a Voyager price point, it would have been nice if he came with, like, Swindle, his Minicon, or Grid, as he was called in the Japanese version, Micron. But, I mean, I understand how they don't want to go down that Minicon basket just yet. I mean, look, if they would have given Grid/Swindle as a Minicon, I think people would have been like, well, what about, Runway, Sonar, and, Jetstorm as the Star Saber? So I think they don't want to go down that just yet, but I'm pretty sure the opportunity will present itself at some point in the future, and then you could reunite these guys. They'll probably do some 10-pack or something. That'd be kind of cool, even if they have to retool some, Micromaster molds or something. Just take, look, we already had, some Formula One Micromasters from Siege and stuff. You could kind of just have one painted red, and hey, here's Swindle. But I still think he looks great. Ignore all my little, quibbling and complaints and stuff. I still think he looks fantastic. And the addition of the Star Saber blade is a big get for a lot of people, too. Even if you're not an Armada fan, Star Saber blade is important, But again, this is fantastic. Like, man, this is really, really good. And that Inferno, I keep looking back at that Inferno, like, damn. Some good stuff. That is some good stuff. I'm really looking forward to SDCC because there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff on display. And hopefully we'll get some more information probably from Mark Mayer and the whole crew at Hasbro and learn the magic that went behind these. Again, we have those stock images, but also look at the images on the back of the box, which are also included with the images that are surfacing around. Pretty cool stuff otherwise. Let me know what you think, guys. This is absolutely fantastic, and I feel like the week is not over yet.